Robert Lamm of CHICAGO for MTV Japan. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Since the Chicago Transit Authority was formed, the music scene has really changed.
Just a sec, I'm getting too much noise from somewhere.
Outside?
Yeah. 答えたら
もう一回聞く?
もう一回言って
From the top, I'll do it.
Speak.
Okay, since the Chicago Transit Authority, the music scene has really changed. But how do you feel it has changed?
Well, I'd say the music has changed because of really because of a lot of the technology that is available to the musicians and to the producers and engineers. That's not to mean that the new wave of music, what we're hearing in the late 1980s, is all techno music. I think that there's also been a backlash, there's also been a rebound from the technological part of music, so that you know, people who were rooted in early rock and roll, whose roots are in early rock and roll, are beginning to feel even stronger about those roots, and like John Fogerty and what Bruce has been doing, and people working in that vein. But it really hasn't changed that much, I don't think. It's just new faces, you know, new faces, they come and go.
Do you think the human element and the technology will interface better as time goes on?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that the human element and the technological element will interface in a real creative way. I mean, there's always the temptation to use a new technology and kind of overuse it, and it makes it boring and lifeless. But the thing about music and human beings playing music is that whenever there's a new kind of instrument, human beings will find a way to humanize it and express human emotion with it.
25 or 6 to 4 was a real big hit you had. Why was it done again?
The idea to do it again is David Foster's idea. David thought it would be interesting to go back to our early hits of the early 70s and see if we could find one to redo and make it as, you know, make it as fresh as we could. You know, I've been hearing a lot of remakes by other artists, so I kind of went along with the idea. I thought it would be a good idea to redo a classic, except you know, redo our own classic.
Why did Pete Cetera leave?
Pete left because he wanted to have a solo career. He wanted to be able to, you know, just do his kind of music, and I think basically he just was uncomfortable working in a group situation. So I think, you know, I think that he was just tired of being in a group. So so we supported that decision. I think everybody comes to that point in their careers where they need to, you know, stretch and do something else. So that time came for Pete to do that.
How about you? Is your artistic craving pretty much satisfied by Chicago?
Pretty much. I mean, you know, Chicago is not, you know, the main thing in my life, but I mean, there are other things in life besides Chicago and making music with Chicago. I just happen to think that the other creative things that I'm interested in, you know, which, you know, range as far as you know, painting and you know, acting and you know, perhaps writing music for film or even a solo album. I happen to think that all those things can be done without leaving Chicago, but that's just the way that I'm able to work.
Chicago had very jazzy arrangements before, but it doesn't seem to be anymore. Is that intentional?
I don't think it's intentional. I think it's rather natural. If I were to come into rehearsals with a piece of music for a new record that sounded real jazzy, though, I'm not sure that that we would do it. You know, it's just. I mean, Chicago never was really a jazz band. We were definitely influenced by jazz, and we used some elements of jazz, and I'm very influenced by jazz. I think, though, that in the realm of Chicago, in the domain of Chicago, that jazz doesn't really have a very big part anymore.
You said jazz was a big influence for you. What were your dominant influences growing up?
For me, growing up, I remember the first records I had some very early Miles Davis albums, the Miles Davis Gil Evans series. I had some Thelonious Monk. I listened to Bill Evans. I even listened to Shelly Manne. I listened to basically small jazz ensembles. Of course, being a piano player, I listened basically to pianists, but I liked Jimmy Smith because you know, I guess back in the sort of post-bop era, when Jimmy Smith was doing the things he was doing on a B3 organ, it was, you know, it was very new. It was a new sound, and that was something that I was drawn to. As I became more familiar with jazz artists, then of course my exploration went a little bit wider. But I think that those artists I mentioned were the most important.
I think we better change tape.
Okay.
You know, we don't have to, but
You
okay.
might get a part. You mentioned earlier that one of your interests outside of Chicago is acting. How much are you pursuing that?
I'm pursuing it. I help my wife, who is an actress on one of the long-running soap operas. I help her with her lines, and we go to the theater an awful lot, and it seems like there's always an actor or an actress or two around the house. So, you know, that's really my direct exposure to it. I have been to some improvisational acting classes, and it interests me as a challenge. I'm not sure that I'd want to devote my life to acting, but it's something I certainly would like to try.
These days there's a lot of crossover, not just between musical charts, but artists are crossing over into different mediums.
Yeah.
Singers, rock people in movies. Do you think we're in an era where a person can't really do it just by music?
No, being purely a musician, I don't like to think that thought. But I think it's interesting that, say, a person like David Byrne, who's very obviously a talented musician, is able to cross over and you know, and connect in the writing for a film and then acting in a film. But I don't think it's really necessary to be a movie star to be successful if you're a musician. I think somebody like Bruce, you know, he's a pure musician. You know, sure, we see him in videos and things, but and probably someday they will ask him to make a movie.